Have you seen this trailer for The Wheel of Time? You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
It's going to be Amazon Prime's version of Game of Thrones.
Called The Wheel of Time?
Yeah. So you don't have any idea what the Wheel of Time series is? Like, maybe it was one of my dad's favorite books, like series growing up, written by Robert Jordan.
Oh, so it's based on a book too.
Yeah, it's literally the new Game of Thrones coming out. It's high fantasy. Oh, it's high fantasy series. Game of Thrones was like mid-low fantasy, I would say. Like it's I don't know actually, because it's small amount of magic. Game of Thrones was small amount of magic, small amount of dragons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
While like this Wheel of Time is going to be like there's magic and wizards and shit everywhere.
Yeah, like Game of Thrones as a whole, White Walkers is not totally ever explained. You just kind of, it's like carrot. You just kind of go with it.
It's going to be explained in the prequel series.
The House of
Targaryen.
Targaryen.
Tarnarius. Like
the House of Triceratops.
Yep, there you go. The House of Tyrannosaurus Rex.
The Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Little foot. Mom, wake up, Mom. Oh no, it's Grandma.
It is Grandma. Yeah.
I'll run that joke.
Bambi's mom.
Lead us in.
I'm just correcting you. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape.
I just had nothing else to say.
Hey, everyone.
There we go. That's not as jarring.
How is everyone doing today?
And welcome to the autumn season. I don't know.
As we explained last week, we kind of
we didn't tell them what we're doing.
No, but we gave them the idea that since, like this time of year around the Thanksgiving time, fall era, November. November, not Thanksgiving time. I don't want to really promote that too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a weirdo that's like Thanksgiving's their favorite holiday, but like
I couldn't give two shits. But we kind of had this idea of like, football really goes with this time of year, and we haven't really done sports movies ever, so we're doing a little block of some sports movies, specifically football. Yeah,
well, this time I feel like this time of year there is like a kind of like a football, like football's in the air, like the homecoming games in high school happen. There's the Thanksgiving, there's always like the games of football played, like the Lions, Green Bay, and like the Cowboys always play a game at some point throughout the blah blah blah. There's more to it. Like it's also the meat of the the NFL season, whatever. But so do we want to announce what the what my brain just went in 5 directions.
They're all vetted and good, right?
Yeah, they're all vetted and good.
They're all vetted and good.
We're all good. Yeah, the 4 movies that we're doing. We are starting this.
We're doing it in a weird.
We're doing it in the timeline order of the timeline.
Chronologically, when the movies are set in.
Yes. They are set in a specific time.
And then we're going through that. So we're starting off today with Leatherheads.
And I don't know what the the actual list of the next 3 are, but
I was like,
I know it's Varsity Blues, The Longest Yard.
Longest Yard's last.
What's the other one? Oh, and The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, yeah.
So I think it's The Replacements.
No, I think it goes Varsity Blues, Replacements, The Longest Yard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Longest Yard remake with Adam Sandler.
Yes.
Specify.
Well, actually, the original with Burt Reynolds would have been amusing.
Yeah, actually, because that also would have been after Leatherheads.
Yeah, we can switch it up. We can do that next week. But I know you wanted to do that.
I want to do Longest Yard.
All right.
The remake.
All right. So, so that means today is Leatherheads, as we just said.
Leatherheads released April 4th, 2008, which is really funny to me because this is very close to my birthday, and I realized I probably saw this for my birthday because that's what I did, and I was 15 years old last time I watched it.
Nice. Oh, yeah, so it's got a 6.0 rating on IMDb. Really quick, I know you do the Metacritic when you're like doing your reviews. Do you also look up Rotten Tomatoes? Because I think I want to start adding that.
I don't really like their format very much.
Really?
No. I mean, I can start.
I'll start looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like it very much.
Well, yeah. So, like you said, so it was released April 4th, but I had a fun premiere on March 24th of 2008, where George Clooney, he did a private premiere in his hometown with him and Renee Zellweger.
Yeah.
They hosted like this little fun little nugget of trivia. It did not really fare well box office wise, which I don't know, that kind of makes sense. This style movie just, I don't know, it's kind of lost in time.
Yeah.
So domestically it was number 95. And did you have worldwide?
I did.
I got it written down right here.
Okay.
I got worldwide. It was number 127.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that also makes sense. I mean, this style, American football is very much, an American, thing.
Yeah, and this movie is it has, for 2008, it has an old Hollywood movie feel.
It does. I talk about that in my review a little bit. So, but so like 2008, like what was coming out, like top movies of the year of like around the world was like The Dark Knight, Indiana Jones and Crystal Skull, Kung Fu Panda, Hancock, Mamma Mia. To give you kind of an idea of like what was happening that year, I remember seeing Dark Knight in the theaters. And
yeah, who did I see that with?
I saw that by myself actually.
I think I saw that with Bruce.
What?
Randomly, yeah.
The Dark Knight in 2008?
Oh no! And then it must have been Rises.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm like, just like, dude, we
weren't here.
Yeah, you were still in LA.
Then it had to be Rises. I was gonna say, budget of $58 million and it grossed $41 million.
Yeah, so, but I mean, like this was around this. Also, Iron Man came out this year. I do want to point out. So this was a quote unquote the beginning. Yeah, no, it was the beginning of the MCU.
Yeah,
because Hulk came out later in the year in 2008 after Iron Man. So like this was like the beginning, like the Hollywood blockbuster had already like been like a huge thing, obviously, but this movie just, it's very much, I'd say in my review, it's a very humble film,
Yeah. Synopsis real quick.
Yeah, I was about to have you go
just to give people context of what we're kind of talking about. Set in the 1920s, we follow two football players and a reporter in a strange love triangle during the rise of professional football. Because this is actually more of a rom-com than a football movie an extent, which I don't remember that being the thing.
It's interesting because the movie is kind of split in half with the two, but like it emphasizes more on the romantic side of things, but it does it in a very particular like way of screwball comedies from the 1930s, and I have that a little bit of that in my review as well. Yeah, you want to go into credits for it?
Yeah.
All right. So this movie, I thought this was his directorial debut, but I was wrong. This movie was directed by George Clooney, who his directorial debut was actually Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really have a lot of directing credits. He's obviously more well known as being an actor, but he also directed Good Night and Good Luck, which I'm pretty sure he won an Oscar for. Maybe it was just best movie, so like producers and him won that. But Ides of March, Suburbicon, which is a very weird.
That sounded familiar. What was that?
It's Matt Damon and it is in it, but it was written by the Coen brothers and Clooney.
Uh-huh.
And Clooney ended up directing it. And oh god, I don't even really know how to explain it, but like Matt Damon's character, like he's like a suburban family man, but
I see him wearing like glasses and like a
but he's like a CIA plant as well. I can't fully remember now that I think about it, but I remember watching it and it was very dark and weird. It's very Coen brothers.
His whole costume is that guy from Office Space, right? I believe you have my stapler.
Yeah, he kind of looks like that. Yeah,
looks like that guy.
Yeah,
like he stole his wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. So I mean, George Clooney, he hasn't really directed a lot, like I said, but he's a really good director when he's doing it. In my opinion, like he really has like, I mean, Clooney, he's just been in the movies for in the business for so long that he really knows what he's doing.
Well, it's like we kind of talked about it and never really thought of him. I think we talked about it during Pretty Things. George Clooney is another comfort food actor.
Pretty Things?
Isn't that what it was called? Denzel Washington, Jared Leto.
Oh,
Pretty Little Things.
yeah. Okay, I'm like, what movie did we? Because we talked about that on a banter.
Yeah.
I was like, what movie did we review called? Like,
but like George Clooney is just he's a comfort food. Whenever you get him, you know what you're getting.
Yeah,
you know, and that's nice.
He's kind of got like an actual like 1930s, 40s like Hollywood star feel to him as well.
Yeah, and he's just like he's charming, and he's like, hey, you know, like he's just.
Hi, I'm George Clooney.
Yeah, it's like yes, you are George Clooney.
Hi, I'm Batman. Sorry.
No, he's not.
All right, so
silver nippled Batman.
So this movie actually has kind of like a weird history for its writing credits, because the two writers that are billed on it, I figured out who they are.
Oh, really? I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I figured out who they are.
Okay.
So
lead me.
So their names are Duncan Brantley and Rick Riley, and they're sports journalists.
Which I figured from. I got that far.
Yeah, because like Rick Riley, he had his own sports interview show in the early 2000s called Homecoming with Rick Riley. He also was a writer on sport for a show about a sports agent called Arliss. And he was just a sports analyst for ESPN and Sports Illustrated as well. And Duncan Brantley was like his former colleague from ESPN and Sports Illustrated. So they wrote this script back in like 1993, a screenplay for this movie.
It's kind of cool though. You actually got like analysts for the sports to do a sports movie.
Well, they know Steven Soderbergh, who did Ocean's movies, and so like it's not that they were hired to write this movie. Is they had an idea for this movie Leatherheads, which the original script was following the story of somebody. It wasn't this screwball romantic comedy at all. It was more of a story based off of an old Chicago Bears star, Harold Red Grange, and he's documented as one of the best college football players of all time, like even back from 1925.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one of because of him, and kind of like what happens with Carter in the movie, his signing with the Chicago Bears made professional football pretty much legitimize. Mm-hmm. Because pro football was, as they describe in the movie, more of a thing where it was just like, drunks and minors and like just washed up old men wanting to fucking.
I kind of attribute it to like a circus. It's like it was more of like a.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because people watch football for entertainment now, obviously, but it wasn't. You didn't watch it because they were the cream of the crop top athletes.
Yeah.
That were these like gods, they were crazy. It was like kind of like just a pastime. Like, let's go watch the drunk miners run into each other really hard.
And once the NFL commissioner was actually put on and they actually set a set of rules, the game, it just became it became different. As they kind of explore in this movie a little bit, but so the Duluth Bulldogs are actually based off of the Duluth Eskimos from this time period, and they couldn't get the name Eskimos for just rights from the Professional Football Hall of Fame. But I think if I did a little bit of research, I'm pretty sure the Duluth Eskimos, they are rooted. The Minnesota Vikings are rooted within their history. Okay. So, this movie has a lot of actually history of
what happened
of American football. Yeah. But the thing is, George Clooney then got this script, I think, from Soderbergh, and he rewrote the entire thing. I think, what is it? So there's actually a whole thing with the writing credits as well, is that the Writers Guild of America decided not to award Clooney any type of screen credit for the film, even though 90% of what he wrote is what was filmed in the movie. So as it said, put in it's like a 17-year-old script, and he turned it into a screwball comedy, left only 2 of the original scenes intact.
Oh.
So he saw this idea for a script. Like the biggest thing that he really like kept true to nature, and like there's even been a little bit of review that I saw that was from back when this movie came out on twincities.com. This guy who's a journalist from Duluth, that wrote this, he kind of rode the coattails of this movie called, with a release of a book called Leatherheads of the North. So it's about the football players around that time as well. And he puts that like one of the things that they really got the atmosphere of professional football really accurate in this game. It's like the romance of the train travel, going in 6 different directions at once, vibe for a football team, playing several games in a week. And like the disdain for rowdy pro football and love for more refined college game. Like,
yeah.
And like, so like all of these things that they're like more of a backdrop for the movie.
Yeah.
You know? So like you can tell from these like sports analysts, there was like a really true nature of the history of football in this game that George Clooney kind of saw and was like, well, I wonder if it was more like a screwball romantic movie.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, kind of put that twist on it and kind of created this like homage to like that style of film, you know?
Yeah.
Which is very fitting for, you know, this football being played as well. So he didn't get like, going back. Yeah. So he always wanted to have Duncan Brantley and Rick Riley to be like credited as like the lead writers, because they created like this idea for the story and whatnot. But something happened. I can't really get like I don't really fully know like the whole drama of with the Writers Guild of America and whatnot, but they had a ruling to just have Clooney not be a part of it, and he ended up like so Clooney resigned his full status to go. I think it's called financial core within the guild, the Writers Guild, which I don't fully understand, but like just quick reading of it, it says it refers to a legal carve out that permits workers opposed to participating in a labor union to be employed in a union facility or union profession without compelling them to be union members. That's a very confusing statement, like so sentence.
It's like honorary union member.
Yeah, it's
kinda,
like I get of. It's like he still gets some type of credit, but not like.
But we're not going to call you a writer.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was. I don't fully.
Sounds like a lot of logistical red tape.
There's definitely like I've been thinking about doing some research on the Writers Guild of America and just the Writers Guild in general because of stuff that I've been working on with Taylor and like just writing in general, and I kind of want to know the whole. Like especially like I'm starting to get my writer's bug up again. So like if I actually start writing more, I definitely need to know this. I need to have knowledge of this.
Yeah, totally.
For me to like, you know, put my stamp on stuff. So yeah, like I would say George Clooney is a writer on this movie, even though he's not, you know, credited of it. But I definitely do like, you know, hey, you know, Duncan Brantley and Rick Riley, impressive for like 2 sports analysts to like just out of nowhere have this fucking movie, like it's whatever like screenplay or story they had, and George Clooney to, you know, grab it and get a quick run with it. Yeah, I mean that's about as big the deep dive that I could get on this movie. Oh, excuse me. That tasted like cereal.
Someone like punched you in the stomach very lightly, and then you burped.
Do you have any thoughts? So you couldn't find anything on them?
Not really. Like I don't know. I just kind of chalked it up to that, but you just went on more of a deep dive than I did.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, let's move into starring then.
Okay.
Starring also George Clooney, who you might recognize from
Batman and Robin,
Oceans 12, 11, and 13, From Dusk Till Dawn. What?
How'd you say that?
Oceans
12, 11, and 13.
Did I say it like that?
12, 11, and 13.
I know how to count. 14, 9.
Gravity. I guess my favorite one's Fantastic Mr. Fox, just because he has a great voice.
I was From Dusk Till Dawn. Hello.
Oh, I totally forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
I was with George Clooney. I just went off the top of my head. I was like,
oh, really?
Yeah, Gravity.
he got his. I mean, he started out in
Roseanne.
the 80s with Roseanne.
ER.
So apparently there was another show called ER he did in the 80s. There's the ER that we know is like the drama from like the 90s that was on after Friends and Frasier or Seinfeld, whatever, on Thursday nights when I was a kid. I remember that very well. But there was like one of the 80s that was more of like a like comedy, and it was like E/R. And it was like this, like a slapsticky like type of comedy from the 80s that only ran for like a season or two, I want to say. Are you looking it up?
I'm looking right now.
Did you find it?
I'm only seeing one ER.
The one at the very bottom that's like 1984 to 1985?
Yeah, that's the only one I'm seeing.
Yeah, so that's the one that's not the one that he's most famous for, because the other one, if you want to find the other one, the other ER, you got to scan up to like the early 2000s. Because
that's when it ended?
Yeah.
Let's see.
And it was like 1993 to 2002, I think he was on it. Or 94, 95. Yeah.
There you go. 94 to 2009.
2009?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. Oh, wait, no, that's how long the show ran.
That's how long the show ran. Yeah,
because he left, I want to say, after like 5 or 6 seasons.
Oh, interesting. So what is this other ER?
Like I said, it's like a fucking weird slapstick comedy. I just looked at it, I was like, that's weird. Looked at it just really quickly, just glanced at it.
I was like, I remember being like, I don't remember ER being that old.
No, exactly. That's why I saw that. I was like, that's confusing me. That's really confusing me.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Huh, interesting.
He's also in Hail Caesar. So
he's in Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Yeah.
He's in Spy Kids. He's in all that stuff.
He is in a lot of things. My favorite stuff from him, though, is when he's working with the Coen brothers, I do got to say. Like, he fits very well in Coen brothers aesthetic. With their weird, screwy comedies. Like fucking Burn After Reading. God, I love that movie. Nothing happens in that movie. So brilliant. So, what did we learn?
Well, I just think of the John Malkovich yelling at Brad Pitt, then punching him. You dick!
No, not until you give us the money. Oh, yeah.
Not until you give us the money, Oh.
All right, so yeah, it's also this movie. Back to Leatherheads. Next, let's go John Krasinski next. Most famous for The Office, Jim from The Office, which actually this movie made him have to change his iconic hairstyle in The Office.
Yeah, and they did a whole episode on it, right?
Yeah,
I don't remember that episode though.
You know, it's not an entire episode. It's just kind of like a joke in part of an episode where like Jim comes in with a haircut, and because he's getting ready to go do his interview for Michael's job in New York.
Oh, right.
And they're like, oh, they start calling him like model and all this stuff. And he's like, yep, I just thought I would clean up a little bit, look a little professional. And now I'm getting this. He's also, A Quiet Place. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. He is Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
Which I've heard is actually, some of my friends that are into that stuff, they really like it. So I've been meaning to check it out.
He's in Kinsey. Do you remember who he is in Kinsey?
I don't know what Kinsey is.
Okay.
What is Kinsey?
It's well then he's in Jarhead too. I don't remember him in Jarhead.
That's a small role.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of those. I was looking at his whole thing and I was like, I've actually seen you in a lot of stuff, but I didn't know who you were.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Is like, so before The Office really took off and launched his career, he was like, he was in a lot. Like he's in The Holiday that we're going to be watching soon. Like as a quick side character with Jack Black.
Don't remember that at all. Oh yeah, there he is right there. Holiday. He's Ben.
Mm-hmm. But like it wasn't until The Office where he started and then like
Kinsey is the Liam Neeson where he plays Dr. Kinsey, the sex doctor.
Nope.
No. Okay. A look at the life of Alfred Kinsey, a pioneer in the area of human sexual research.
Who does the Kinsey scale?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's based off his work.
I didn't know that they had a movie based on him.
Yeah, and it was really controversial too because it's 1948, and he was just like going around interviewing people about sex, which he just did not do.
He'd be like, you are. He's like, you like boys? No, I don't.
Kinsey Kinsey, I remember Kinsey being really very interesting, and also just Liam Neeson. I just like Liam Neeson. He's in Taxi.
Which Taxi? I saw that. The only ones I wrote down really was The Office, obviously.
No, I'm just pointing out, like, he's been in a bunch of shit that I've seen, but I have no recollection of seeing him in it.
You know, he was in Free Guy, but you don't see his face.
Oh, well then.
Sorry.
Brief interviews. I just
wanted to freak you out.
Brief interviews with Hideous Man.
Oh, he directed that and wrote that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he's in Arrested Development. I remember him in that.
I think that's in the Netflix.
The redo.
Yeah, season the continuation.
Yeah, but yeah, just long story short, I just feel like I've seen him in a lot of stuff and just didn't realize it.
Let's keep moving to Renee Zellweger, who she's actually very good for this style of movie.
Yeah, she worked really well. Just her look and her exactly her vibe.
Well, I mean, she was great in Chicago, you know.
Yeah,
and she's also from Chicago in this movie. So look at that. She's also known for Jerry Maguire. I think probably most notoriously known for Bridget Jones' Diary.
Probably
being Bridget Jones. You know?
When I think of Renee Zellweger, I think of Me, Myself, and Irene.
Me, Myself, and Irene. I also think of Empire Records.
You shoved it up your own ass.
Yep. And then also Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, she's in that?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit.
I know. That movie
it's like her and Matthew McConaughey are like fucking surprisingly really good in that really shitty movie.
Reality Bites.
Yep. Yeah.
That's Renee.
Yep. There's really not a lot to talk about with this movie, is there?
There really isn't. I mean, once we get into like the actual movie, because even then I wasn't really sure who else to bring up. I mean, Malcolm Goodwin's in it. But for like a kind of like a bit part, he's in like iZombie. That's like the thing I recognize him most from.
I mean, yeah, it's like those are your three leading characters, and it's very much fitting for like this like homage to this style of movie. Like you're only gonna have three main characters. Well, I guess the guy that played Cece.
Yeah.
Who actually Cece, that he's based off a real character or a real character,
a real person.
A real
Jonathan
person.
Pryce.
Thank you, Jonathan Pryce.
You might reckon Pirates of the Caribbean. First thing that comes to mind.
I was gonna say Game of Thrones.
Who's he in? Oh, he's the Sparrow.
Yeah, Sparrow.
Mm-hmm. Stephen Root is in it.
Steven?
Was what? Oh, I don't know. PH.
Yeah, that's still pronounced Steven, isn't it?
Couldn't Stefan?
I think Stefan's with an F.
Oh. PH.
I know.
I hate English. But I mean, I like this game too. Stephen Root. First thing I think of is Just Friends. Is the first thing that comes to mind for some reason. Yeah, that's like.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
In Office Space as well. Yeah.
But I just like him a lot in Just Friends. He's the like producer.
Oh, that's
lobster. Daddy wants a fish.
I forgot about that.
He's just gross and funny in that.
He's really great in this, like, because he's got kind of that. He's a character actor, so like his role in this Suds as the alcoholic
writer.
Yeah, journalist.
Yeah. Thank you, journalist.
Just like I love like the beginning of it where it's like he's like just leaning up against like the side and he's like passed out, and then like George Clooney walks by and like just hits him. He's like, it was like it's very. Animated cartoon, like very much a little over the top, like giving the style of this movie and whatnot. It's like, all right, yeah.
Well, then I also like really liked that Blake Clark was in it.
I was just about to bring up Blake Clark.
I really liked that. I thought that was really. I was like, hey, look who it is.
Yeah, Sean's dad from Boy Meets World. Sorry.
What was the other football movie he was in?
Waterboy?
Waterboy, yeah. You can't I was laughing and like my partner was like, why are you laughing? I'm like, it's the fucking gibberish guy.
The Cajun dude.
Yeah. Can anyone understand him or do they pretend? I haven't seen Waterboy.
They just pretend.
Okay, I haven't seen Waterboy forever.
Or it's literally they can't understand him.
Okay. It was just
Adam Sandler.
But yeah, I mean, that's really it. Is those three are like the main. And then there's like a bunch of the other football players are kind of in it, but the camera never really seems to focus on anyone longer than those four. CC being
CC,
Price.
he is a lead, more supporting lead, but yeah, it's definitely following the narration of the movie is following let's actually get their names.
Dodge Connolly is Clooney.
Yeah.
Krasinski is Crater. Rutherford
Carter.
Excuse me, Crater. And then Zellweger is
Fucking
Lexi.
dyslexic.
You just fucked it up too. Dyslexic.
I was laughing while I was saying
And
it.
Zellweger is Lexi Littleton.
Yeah, Lexi Littleton. Yeah. Well, so what'd you get for reviews?
So I actually did 3. It was like kind of going off what I said last week about the compliment sandwich.
Yeah.
They're not very long. But I'm going to start off with, I'm trying to figure out, should I do good, whatever, bad, or bad, whatever, good?
Well, you have 3, so if it's a compliment sandwich, like...
I didn't actually need it needs to be a sandwich. I just want to say 3. I'm going to do a good, whatever, bad.
Yeah, let me make a sandwich with
Claudia,
a piece of meat of cheese. Sorry.
P-U-I-G. How would you pronounce that? Claudia Pug?
Can I see it?
P-U-I-G.
P-U-I-G.
I-G.
Pug?
Pug, right? Yeah. Okay.
I thought you said puke.
No, Pug.
Oh, I was like...
Claudia Pug at US Today. More amiable than witty and relying heavily on the likability of its lead actors, Leatherheads scores more points as a retro romantic comedy than a football saga.
Yeah.
Okay. Stephanie Zacharick at Saloon. You have to give Leatherheads this much. It's like no other comedy or movie out there these days. Clooney, one of our few old-style Hollywood movie stars, himself obviously loves old-fashioned movie making. Like, okay, all right, fine. And then A.O. Scott at New York Times. What is harder to comprehend is how Clooney turned out such a sloppy, haphazard, and tonally incoherent piece of work. Leatherhead lurches hectically between Coen Brothers style and John Saleson's dictatism while Clooney... I'm having a hard time speaking. While Clooney works his brow and his jaw and waits in vain for his charm to kick in and save the day. I was like, Urgh.
I mean, it's not wrong.
They're not wrong.
It's a little mean.
But, you know.
I mean, I can totally see a lot of that. And I like when I was writing my review, I kept kind of like going back and forth, like, because I kept going to this, like, it is like, I felt like it was tonally challenged, but then I would like find ways to defend how it wasn't. And I was like, oh, so I just kind of like, it just kind of ignored kind of like writing kind of about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also I feel like this whole movie was just kind of like, a majority of it was a lull. It was just kind of this kind of background.
I kind of bring that up
thing.
Yeah. And I think it's because it's too much of an homage. Like, here, let me get into my review and we'll talk about it. In 2008, a humble film directed by George Clooney was released by the name of Leatherheads. I can only describe this movie as a delightful homage to classic films, generally categorized as the screwball comedy. The movie hits all its marks for the screwball comedy with fun slapstick, a quick-witted sharp female lead, and a charming leading man with the charisma of Cary Grant. The slapstick of the movie is executed wonderfully by leaning into the ridiculousness of the classic choreography, and Zellweger and Clooney's quick banter and chemistry pop in their scenes. However, it's possible that its homage to classic films is also what hinders it. The movie itself is enjoyable and fun to watch, but like its predecessors, tends to overtell / show too many scenes that modern audiences just don't need today. An example, a scene of Clooney walking down the street to show a passage of time and location. We get it. The movie feels very grounded in its time of 1925 by having a story inspired by the actual history of the NFL and its rough nature of how the game was played back then on and off the field. Even though the movie is rooted in the history of football, the game takes second seat to the love story and Krasinski's character arc, which in turn lends a hand in the homage department for a screwball comedy. And of course, in a classic nature, the film ends with the two bantering lovebirds driving off into the sunset. Yep.
Yeah. I mean.
It's very much just a great, like, it's a screwball comedy from like the 1920s and 30s, you know, like Some Like It Hot or Lady Eve, you know?
Yeah.
Or like to put like people from like for musicals in like the 60s, a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum, you know?
What happened?
A funny thing.
Sorry. Stupid.
I mean, yeah, it has like the fun. I really like the amount actually. So I did you watch this on DVD or did you
on Peacock?
On Peacock. Okay. So
I couldn't find it. I thought I had it.
So I watched my DVD and it had like the making, like behind the scenes stuff with it. And everybody that was playing football, they went through like 3 weeks of training with an actual a football coach and also historian of football. So like this guy knew how the game was played in the 1920s. So not only did they just like work on drills and whatnot, but he like knew like the form that they would actually throw these oversized footballs. Because in 1925, the football itself was a lot bigger than the footballs that they use nowadays. And they were smooth and like they were hard to hold. So like throwing it, like the throwing game in football back then was rare. It was a lot more of a running game.
Yeah.
And so to throw this thing, like you literally had to like put your entire body into
like shock put it.
Yeah.
Shot put it.
Yeah. And they so they went through just actual like 3 weeks of like intensive like training of football, like this style of football with the little amount of pads on.
Yeah.
That's also another thing is like Clooney said he watched a bunch of interviews of like men that played like football in the 20s and 30s and whatnot. And like when they were in their 60s talking about it. So I'm assuming this was probably like interviews from like the 70s, what have you. And he's like, and none of them had teeth.
None of them had teeth. That's funny.
He's like, the game was very different without a face mask.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm not even, I think I'm having a hard time talking about this movie because there is so much of it that it's so weird. It's like, I haven't really felt this blah.
I mean, it's fun to watch.
Because I just like, I don't know. It's one of those, I watched it and I was like, I could see myself forgetting about this movie in a few hours.
I know I've seen this, but like watching it, I was like, oh, like as I was watching, I was like, oh yeah.
But there were a couple like solid laughs too.
I was laughing through a lot of this movie.
There were some moments, and it was more like a lot of it was just kind of situational dialogue. Mm-hmm. Like,
oh, dude,
Carter being drunk.
That was hilarious.
I was dying. I was like, this is so funny. And then it went complete flatline for a minute again, and I'm like. And then we got to the fist fight scene, and then I'm like, okay, this is funny. Yeah. And then it went complete flatline again.
Which in a week, like, but that's how those movies felt. Like, if you think about how many like old like 30s or 40s, like
probably none.
Yeah, and that's how they felt. It's like it was a big setup for like a joke and whatnot, or like the little like the physical like action that would happen, and then they would like, and then it was just like, let's tell the story a little bit now. There we go, tell all the story. Hey, there we go, and now. Joke.
Okay.
You know,
maybe I'm just don't have enough context to.
I mean, yeah, this movie is very much a great homage to that classic Hollywood style film. Like, it's really uncanny, really. Even like just the way that they're like on the football field and they're doing the blocks. Like when George Clooney, like, well, it's probably a stuntman. Just dives to like do that block for Carter running for the touchdown. That's so over the top.
Yeah,
like it's so slapstick. And then the whole farcical like the escape thing with Renee Zellweger with Lexi
yeah.
and
that was,
and Dodge. You know, I was like, this is like right out of a fucking Laurel and Hardy sketch or Buster Keaton. You know,
yeah.
Or I mean Cary Grant, yeah. Like it was very, very on the nose. Like just it was Clooney just tipping his hat to that style. And he probably just like always wanted to do a movie like that, you know? Just like thinking about Clooney, like he has that Cary Grant charisma.
I was gonna say it's like his wit,
Jimmy Stewart.
His wit fits in this kind of fast talking con guy kind of thing. Like he's gonna convince you, you know, that this is the right way to go, which he does throughout the movie. Yeah, and he just fits really well for that.
when the high school kid gets on the train and sits next to him, he's like, "Yeah, so you held back? No."
Well, like that's the thing too. He like facial expression and he's very fun to watch. Yeah, especially in a role like this, like
because he seems like he'd be a very serious person, you know.
Yeah, but he's like, and then I think of like roles like where he is Batman, and I'm just like, he didn't do it
No, he was a horrible Bruce Wayne. He's not the worst Bruce Wayne or the worst Batman. I've seen a worse one now from Titans. We'll talk about that.
Well, I thought the only time you see him is when he's like going crazy and Nightwing has to like stop him in that dream sequence. Do they reintroduce him?
Oh, no, yeah. He's kind of like a reoccurring character.
What?
Not like a main character, but like he's like...
I'm so curious. I'm going to start watching Titans again just for that. I'm very curious how they do it.
Dude, he's not good.
Okay.
And he can't do an American accent.
What is he?
He's Scottish, but like
Scottish Batman.
Like,
awesome.
He's like, but like he has more like almost a British accent. He's the guy. He was in.
I'm Batman.
He was in Game of Thrones. I can't pronounce his name. Ian.
Yeah, he was the Batman in the flashback.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. Like he's
not good.
I only remember that one scene. I don't remember really thinking anything of it.
Dude, he cannot do an American accent to save his life. But yeah. Anywho. What were we talking about?
George Clooney.
Clooney.
Like it's just like certain things he just really fits in. Like him being Bruce Wayne just didn't fit. And I'm not even talking about the movie itself being kind of like the circus that it was in its own right. Just him, like I just remember that monologue he has at the end when Alfred's like sick, and I was like, you're just not. This isn't doing it for me.
That was also just like bad writing and Joel Schumacher.
But that's the first time that I was like, George, shut up, stop talking. Usually I'm like, keep talking.
Yeah, hey, you have that bad of a script, no amount of charisma can fucking carry you through sometimes.
But yeah, he was just really he had this like charm to him in this.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he has that face for the 1920s.
He's got that jawline.
Yeah, he fucking does. So pretty much like the storyline of this movie is professional football is going under. Everyone's going bankrupt.
Yeah, and it's not really like
This is all rooted in like a lot of very like actual facts.
And calling it professional is kind of a stretch.
I mean, it's professional because it's like more amateur in a big way, but it's not professional football in the way that we understand it today because this was where it came from.
Yeah.
And so like all the teams, like there's not a lot of teams, and I think around this time there was only like 12 teams actually.
Jeez.
If that. Like professional football really started with like the Packers, the I think they're the Eskimos, the Canucks, a lot of very racist names if you really think about it. But anywho, yeah, so it's going bankrupt, and Dodge, he comes up with this plan because like, yeah, college football is a lot more refined of a game, quote unquote. And
because it has colleges backing it in a sense.
Yeah, there's actually money being, on it. But like Carter, who's this wartime hero from the Great War, for getting a bunch of German soldiers to surrender, he's just bringing in crowds. So Dodge gets this idea to sign Carter, but this is unheard of for a college kid to actually get out of college and play professional football, because you're not going to make any money. It's like, as I said, it's like for minors, drunks, but Dodge sees that if this kid comes, then tickets will sell, and then then everyone can make money. It can save the game pretty much. And he convinces Carter to do this by being like, don't you want to play football? And Carter's like, I love football. Like, when I'm out there, it's one of my favorite things I love to do,
Yeah.
Which, a true football player is like, yeah, if I could he's like, yeah, if I could get paid for doing it, of course I would do it. It's one of I love it. So he convinces with it, and then that's in a scene with Cece, who is going to back it all as well. But then we got Lexi, who is this journalist from the Chicago Tribune, and you're given this semblant, or given the tea, the modern kids would say.
You just aged yourself. Not only
hello, fellow film reviewers.
The tea, as modern kids would say. This is my TED Talk.
One of the people that was in his platoon, is that right term for that?
Platoon, squad,
yes.
Sure.
Is coming forward to trying to show saying that Carter isn't the war hero that he was, that the story didn't happen quite the way that everybody blew it out
and
of
he's
proportion.
got and he's now this war hero. He's got a medal from the president.
Yeah.
And like
everyone's wanting his autograph because during this time, a war hero is a celebrity.
Yeah.
They're the George Clooney of their time.
And so Lexi's job Renee Zellweger, Lexi's job in this film is to get the true story and find out what actually happened.
Under the guise of just wanting to get to the
football story and the professional.
Well, she doesn't know. It's not the football story at first. It's she wants the scoop on Carter. Like, why? Who are you? Type
but then
thing.
she starts tagging him along to go along with this football thing.
That poor guy. Getting. Of course, I would have told her.
So it really just becomes this, like we were saying, slapstick comedy of them getting Carter, and he's, great, and finally winning games, and it goes through of them making money.
Yeah, it's really amusing is like the longer is like you can see that there's also kind of like a generational gap type thing. Is that you can see that the game is starting to move towards a more refined idea that Dodge's character is not used to. Like he's used to, the trick plays, the cheating, the eye poking,
Yeah.
And just like, it's like I go out and get drunk. And this is also during the prohibition.
Yeah.
So anybody like drinking is supposed to be illegal at this time. Ooh. And as after Carter gets signed, like Dodge just kind of keeps seeing like all these things of like Carter's face is everywhere, and all of his teammates, they're like following now a workout regimen that Carter got from college. They're actually eating healthy. They're following a curfew.
Yeah,
and Dodge is just kind of like, what?
What is this change? Well, even he says in the beginning of the film too that rules are going to ruin the game.
Yeah,
because they get disqualified for not having, since the home team needs to have a football. And he's like, where's that written? He's like, it's not written. It's just a rule.
Yeah.
He's like, God damn, rules. Rules of the game.
Ruin. Also, the coach of the Bulldogs he's got some funny bits, just like how oblivious to everything it is. It's that funny trope of like the person who's supposed to be in charge of everything is the most oblivious of all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes through that, and it's revealed finally that this is kind of like probably what would this be? Kind of like, I forget the term, but finally Carter tells Lexi the truth of his war story,
which was actually really funny.
It is really funny.
That was a fun scene,
and it's kind of like, it's like things like that are going to get out of hand, but I don't see how he could be that big of a disgrace. But obviously, just letting it go for as long,
that's the thing. The white lie just got too big.
Yeah,
and
the whole thing is that. And this is very much, it's setting up for what happens at the end of the movie too, because it's the disguise covered in mud. And so while he was in a foxhole, he
got drunk and
got a little too drunk, fell asleep in the dugout, and woke up to a bunch of Germans around him, and just drunkenly thought, he was like, oh, they've been practicing I surrender in German.
Yeah.
So he stands up and he screams in German, I surrender. And all the Germans just look back and just all stop and raise their hands and surrender to the Americans.
There's something
because they thought he was a German because he was covered in mud.
It's like really funny to me, like especially like that scene too. There's a lot of moments in this that do have this Coen brothers kind of vibe to it, which is just so funny because he likes to work with the Coen brothers. So I'm really wondering if he got a lot of inspiration.
100%. It's probably just their style. It's their vibe, their style of humor,
Yeah.
Because like even like the Coen brothers, like dude, like Raising Arizona, that's 100% a screwball comedy too. Like in a more modern sense, but. Like, and that's Coen brothers in and in,
Yeah, it's so funny that Clooney has a little bit of their vibe to it.
They're probably really good friends.
I know,
too.
but I'm just saying that's like it's so clear that he likes their shit. I guess it's like and it's just because that scene right there, that whole thing of the getting covered in mud, surrendering, that is such a Coen thing.
It's like a Coen brothers, and it's also got a weird Wes Anderson feel to it.
Yeah. It's like it's really. I was like, this is really a weird. Yeah. There really is no other movie like this because it is a Coen Wes Anderson, but it's not. It's a Clooney.
Yeah,
it's so weird. It's a very. It really is like worth a watch just for that because it is.
So
and also the fashion.
Oh yeah,
They all looked awesome.
dude. The soundtrack to this.
The
movie,
soundtrack was great.
Randy Newman was the fucking.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
It's fucking great.
That was really cool. It's weird for me though. Whenever Randy Newman is doing the music and I don't hear him.
Yeah,
I was just waiting. I was like, can we have one like
just get a little
left foot, right foot, left foot.
God damn it.
For the kids out there, that's some old ass Family Guy right there.
That is some old.
That's old.
Show me a potato salad. Sorry.
That is old Family Guy.
I'll eat the apple.
I'm just thinking about the animation, dude. Like the animation
dude,
for that.
yeah.
That's old
Yeah,
Family
it is.
Guy.
All right. So yeah, he finally tells Lexi the dirt, the tea.
As the kids would say.
And she kind of has like a little bit of a moral conundrum. Like she doesn't know if she should run the story or not. And
It's like I couldn't really tell. It's either like she kind of has a little bit of like feels for him, but then also
I think shit's not really like actual like affection as more she now like she feels bad for the
him.
kid.
Yeah.
She's like, wow, yeah, this story, like she knows she has to run it, but she knows she's going to ruin this kid.
Yeah. So it's
and he's
kind of
such a nice, sweet guy, you know, like she might have some feelings for, but like
it kind of felt
until,
more like,
you know, fucking George Clooney just stares deep into her fucking soul with his jawline, third eye staring at her back. God damn.
I want George Clooney to play the live action Crimson Chin.
Right? His chin had like a fucking light on it.
Dude, actually, Clooney is the Crimson Chin.
Yeah.
By my arch mandible. Like, that would be funny. I would even like just him do an SNL skit as like a character like that. That'd be
that could happen actually in today's fucking SNL with a lot of the like the right now writers and cast.
That'd be
because they're our age.
That'd be so funny.
Oh man. So yeah, pretty much they end up going to it's a speakeasy or that Clooney takes a floozy to. I can use the term. It's from the 20s.
You got so excited.
I can say it. And he runs into Lexi, and she's clearly been drinking. And then they go dance, and she kind of gives him, you know, the tea on what.
Can someone count how many times he said that and let me know?
Number 3. It's number 3. And then yeah, he literally just like the spotlight on him, and he's just staring at her. He's like, Lexi, look at me. Look at me. I look like Cary Grant. Don't I? I look like Cary Grant. I'm handsome. Right, jawline.
I'm handsome. You see this jawline right here?
Look at me. I'm smiling. I'm Batman. And then the cops come, the fuzz. It's a raid! Everybody out now! And
we never called them the fuzz.
I just wanted to say the fuzz.
Okay, I'm like, that's a British thing, isn't it?
Yeah. They could have. I mean, they may have been called the fuzz too, just like as like
I actually don't know.
The 20s and 30s, just because.
I thought the fuzz was because the ones in Britain had fuzzy hats.
Do they?
I don't know. That's what this is all Snapple facts. Sorry, I call Snapple facts things that I've heard.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like an actual Snapple fact.
Oh, no, no.
Like you read it, you're like, that's totally true, man.
No. A girl I used to see used to call them that because you would like read them and you'd be like, I actually have no source material to know if this is true, but I wholeheartedly believe it.
Yeah.
So like whenever I say something that I'm not entirely sure, I go Snapple fact that because I'm not entirely sure, but that's what I thought.
Word.
Yeah. So that's don't quote me on. That's a total Snapple fact. I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh man.
I got it from a soda bottle, you know, kind of thing.
So yeah, then the chase ensues, and this is kind of very much a cat and mouse type of 1930s slapstick farcical, like Tom and Jerry, run around, avoiding the cops type scene. But while this is happening, Cece overhears from
The concierge, I guess.
the maitre d'.
Yeah, whatever. Hotel worker.
The editor at the Tribune leaving a message for Lexi about Carter to cook his goose. I love 20s lingo, bro. And Cece then goes to talk with Carter and is like, what did you tell her? And Carter's like, I don't know what you're saying. And he's like, pretty woman, I got you to say something. Tell me what it is.
What'd you say?
And Carter then realizes, like, oh, shit, I fucked up. So he gets drunk. Dodge and Lexi kiss, finally. They're very much over-the-top 1920s style Clark Gable from Gone with the Wind type kiss. And this actually... Well, maybe this is one of my favorite moments in the movie, though. It's like we were talking about Carter being drunk. Just Krasinski's physicality of the pacing and the look on his face. I'm not drunk. You're drunk.
Your sleeve's on fire. Oh, yeah? The sleeve's on fire? Oh! That was really funny. Because even just like their like weird little pissing contest in that one moment was just great. Like, because George Clooney walks up and has lipstick all over his mouth, and it takes Carter a second to like notice it. But when he does that, did you kiss her? Yeah, I kissed her. I kissed her twice, and I liked it. Like, it was just like this.
And she's like, "Thank you," and he's like, "You're welcome."
Yeah, like that whole
like,
little dynamic.
The banter in that scene was really good. That was actually one thing I really. Even like when Dodge and Lexi first meet, their like banter is super quick and fun and whatnot. Like it's not a type of banter you really see in movies nowadays. But I think it's because the theater. I'm such a theater guy as well, and that's very much like a theater, like classic theater. I mean, because like films come from theater, and you know what I mean. Like I love that quick. Like kind of over the top, like they're not talking over each other, but there's no breath in between the lines,
back and forth. Yeah,
it's just like fire, 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 pa! Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And like just that rhythm, it's like a jazz beat type thing. Sorry, I'm getting really like I just love it. I love it so much. Which then like but this is like a weird thing that kind of like throws the rhythm of the movie off is their fight. It's like because they're talking about like actually going out and having like a fight, but then George Clooney just shows back up at his like room and he's like, "Take it outside." He's like, "Okay." But then like, but don't like hit my left, like don't hit my left, my butt, my right side of my butt, like or my leg. It's like,
you got a bad knee. You want to hit him in the back, and then like
just the face, the face,
and they just start hitting each other. George Clooney falls over a lot in that.
Yeah, because he's an old man. Also, I thought it was kind of amusing that the whole like this is also a nice little homage back to like it being like from like a 30s movie, is they were just wailing on each other. And there's no blood,
no bruises.
That's
the first thing I noticed too.
Yeah, just very much like, oh no, they're just having a good old fun hit 'em around.
Fisticuffs.
Yeah, fisticuffs. There we go. So I mean, Carter's now signing with the Bears, the Chicago Bears, and right before Lexi's running the story. So the Duluth Bulldogs, they're probably going to lose now. And where's the story at here now? I guess this is when the NFL commissioner gets hired. Carter's now trying to defend his war story. Oh, and the person that...
So yeah, at this point, the story has been released and is causing a whole bunch of controversy about, back and forth between the reporter's a liar, Carter's a liar, Lexi's a liar, yada, yada, yada. Gets to finally a press conference where the initial other member of the squad that pointed out that this story wasn't true has now been implied bribed.
Yeah, he was paid off by Cece
to retract his statement. And around this point is when the football commissioner has now come in and is like, okay, now everything that has to do with football has to go through me. Mm-hmm. So they end up having like a meeting with Lexi, Cece, the tribute. Harvey, is that his name?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Harvey.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Harvey, who's the editor in chief of Tribune, are all having like a meeting about if it's true or not. Yada yada yada.
Are you about to skip the bar fight?
I would just realize I was skipping the bar fight
because we can't skip the bar fight because that's my second favorite part of the entire movie.
Okay. We're gonna jump back for a second. Jacob, take it away.
I forget how it kind of only leads into this though, but because I think it's just because of like everything, like how everything's like played out. Oh, and it's the Bulldogs are getting ready to play against the Bears like the next day type thing. And so they're at a bar in Chicago, and a bunch of just Army officers come in.
Yeah. Army.
And they cheers for the Bears, and this kid that's like part of like the ball boy for the Bulldogs, like, no, the Bulldogs are the best team, and pretty much
starts a bar brawl.
Starts a bar brawl, which is such a like, again, very classic like stage fight slapstick 1920s 30s bar brawl scene where everybody's like throwing beer bottles and breaking them over each other's head and like over accentuated punches and then
accidentally hitting their own friends.
I love that. Dodge turns around and gets punched, like, hey, it's Dodge. Oh, sorry, Dodge. The piano player just focused on the music playing the entire time, the high beat just like jazz music, who that was actually Randy Newman.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
And then he takes one of the guys is standing up about to hit him, and he hits him over the head with a bottle and then keeps playing the music and whatnot. But then Clooney, Dodge, turns to like punch one of the officers and sees that it's a guy that he was
like he served with.
That he served with. And then now they just start catching up. And then of course, in the fashion of how it does, everyone's like cuts from them all fighting to them all drunkenly singing along with the piano man.
Well, I mean, but like it's kind of funny too is like in this time frame that probably was a very huge bonding moment.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was in the Great War, you know,
exactly.
So it's like a bar full of, it's like, yeah, we have an issue, but we all
it's
served.
like they're going to beat the shit out of each other, get their anger out.
And they're going to sing war songs, you know, like I was like, yeah, probably like
you have had enough?
Great equalizer,
yeah, exactly.
You know, kind of thing.
So, but Dodge makes a deal with his officer or his war buddy, that he'll get them front row tickets for the game if he can do a favor, which is borrow
their uniforms.
So now, fast forward
back to this meeting I was talking about. They're having this whole thing about if it's true or not, and the commissioner's now involved. And then fucking strung out Clooney stumbles in. He's like, "Hey, everyone!
There was a waitress, Yaya, who wants to give you her regards."
And we've been drinking all day since 6 a.m. But I ran into a bunch of Carter's old war buddies. They're actually right outside. And it points, and you see a truck full of guys dressed in army uniforms. And then this just makes Carter finally like
buckle
and just be like, I'm tired of living this lie, and admits it to, which was the point of that, to make it so Carter couldn't play.
No.
What was the end goal for Clooney or for Dodge?
It was so Lexi's integrity.
Okay, I was like, I wasn't sure exactly.
So, and that's also another like one of the like since it is just so much an homage of like a 1930s like screwball comedy, like Lexi's character arc is dependent on her love story ending with Dodge, but it still kind of like holds like trying to hold like the narrative of that she can still be a quick-witted strong woman with her job, but with him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's that whole. Is that later the scene when he comes to like?
Well, because he kind of like he says that he wants to marry her. Yeah, before that meeting.
But then she's like, in what, like, give up on the doggy dog man's world, kind of like, no, like I'm not gonna do that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, but as soon as like she's like, what, are you coming here to asking me to marry you? And he's like, yes. Yeah. And she's like, wait, what? And he's like, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, I see.
You know. And then she's confused and flustered and doesn't know. But he goes to help so she doesn't have to retract her story. He does that thing to get Carter to admit it, so then her integrity can hold. But Carter also, like, Dodge knows that like Carter's like his name might be tainted, but he's still gonna be a football star.
Yeah.
He's still going to draw in crowds.
So the football commissioner is basically like, you're going to donate 50% of your proceeds.
Now you're going to make an apology. You're going to tell everyone what happened.
You'll still be able to play.
You'll be able to play, but this is what's going to make it better, where everybody's going to be okay with you, is that you're going to come forward, but yeah, you're going to donate, and it'll be public donation on your stuff. Yeah. On
the American Legion donation. then after that whole thing, then CC gets fired, basically.
So, yeah, what's really amusing is that he says there's still always baseball, and he goes, and a fun little like snippet is like in the credits, you see CC standing next to New York Yankees. Mm-hmm. So there was a New York Yankees football team at this time.
Oh, really?
That CC owned.
Oh.
And they only lasted for 3 years or 2 years.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of like it's a weird like not accurate but like nod to that whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then as the jumps, everyone like leaves, and then it's
the commissioner,
Dodge, and the commissioner, and basically the commissioner's like, "You need to retire." And he's like, "Yeah, well, you can't make me." And he's like, "Well,
I can find the hell out of you."
And it's like, and now we have this now set rule book. And
what is it? What? No pig in the blankets?
No crusty Carters or whatever the fuck it was.
No poke in the eyes?
No foxtails or all these random weird plays.
No, around behind the back.
But it's basically like the commissioner's just like, you can play, but if I see any of this shit, you're out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do the shit that you're going to do. And Dodge is like, all right, like whatever kind of like mentality. And then we get to the final.
We get to the game.
The
final game.
The final game.
And now the movie's about football again.
Yeah, suddenly we're back on the... I guess that whole... As soon as everyone leaves and it's Dodge and the commissioner's back about football.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. And, like, the movie itself is, like, that's kind of the weird thing. Is, like, this... I really don't consider this a football movie. This is a screwball comedy that has football... that like,
themed.
Yeah. You know, like
themed.
football is, like, their profession. And what it's like, this could have been at a law firm. This could have been at...
Yeah.
They could have been baseball players. They could have been anything, you know? It just happens to be that they're football players, so, like, there's story of the football in it. But this is kind of, like, a nice little, like, setup and a little taste of his own medicine for Carter is... So, like, it'd been raining super hard in Chicago, and so the football field is just drenched in mud. So all of the players, like they keep making comments about how you can't really tell who's who.
Yeah.
And since all of these rules of the game have now been applied, the score of the game is like 3-0, and nobody can get anything done. Like nobody can it's just like 3 and outs and punts like through the entire thing. And that's also the fun like Blake Clark scene with like, all right, so we're gonna flip the coin, and who calls it? All right, how about you call it heads or tails since you're the home team? Write that down. Like that.
That's a good one. Or even when Suds, too, is like talking about, Lexi asks if without all these gimmicks and these little trick plays, do you think that Dodge can win? And Suds is like, absolutely not, absolutely unequivocally no.
Yeah.
But the worst part is, it's boring.
Yep.
It's so boring.
So essentially what ends up happening is like, since everybody's covered in mud, Dodge kind of notices that you can't tell anybody apart. So after a play, that's like, this is going to be like the last play of the game. And like, he kind of talks with everyone in the huddle and he kind of sets it up. He's like, screw it. I'm just gonna, do a trick thing. He knocks out one of the bears, pushes them into the mud, makes it look like it's one of the Bulldogs so that he can stand on the other side of the team. So, like on the defense side, to not protect the receiver running out.
Yeah.
So then the Bulldogs can get the winning touchdown catch. And he ends up catching the ball and it's like, woo, and the Bulldogs win. Even though it's like, nope, interception. Nope, it's a touchdown. And it's kind of like, well, that's fishy.
And then he they throw water on him to see he's wearing the blue jersey. And he says, I surrender in German.
No, I forgot. I didn't notice that actually.
He says it like, use your own thing against you.
Aha, a little on the nose, but yeah. And then Carter goes up. Carter and Dodge have like that moment of like, it's like passing the torch, type thing. Like, it's now your game, son. And Carter's like, they're gonna fire you for that. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And it's like he's done with it. He's got a woman to ride off into the sunset with.
Yeah,
literally.
that's the end of the movie.
But like they're the fun little. I
was gonna say
fun
then
banter.
we get back to another witty back and forth between Lexi and Dodge, and
you know how to turn that thing on? Of course I do.
Then they get on the motorcycle and
see the key is to hold on. Yeah, and then they have banter as they drive off to the sunset about what the future of their life's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and roll Randy Newman music with credits.
So what is the verdict?
I had a hard. It's a Mogwai. I feel like it's just.
I think it's just a.
It's just a Mogwai, yeah. Because it's not horrible. No. I mean, I don't see any reason to give it anything like a wet Mogwai or a Mogwai eaten after midnight. I was
thinking like I enjoyed it. Probably don't really need to watch it again for a very long time.
Yeah, it's a background Mogwai.
Yeah, I'm gonna forget it in a week.
I would definitely like recommend it to people for an enjoyable like. This is like maybe a good date movie. It's generic. It's a very humble movie. Like it. Like I said in my review, I really think just like it's so much of an homage to this like 1930s style of film, and like not even just like the screwball comedy, which it is, just 1930s cinema.
Yeah, I mean, and like I think my biggest qualm is a little too long.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours long. But like you cut out like what I was saying, like you cut out a lot of those like little like intermittent things.
Yeah,
and just have it be like just a little bit different, and you can have like
I feel like it needs
clip
to be,
along more.
I think it just needed to be tightened up more.
But it also doesn't feel long though.
Really, I felt like it felt really long. I felt like it was very long.
Maybe it's since I actually enjoy this style very much. Like
maybe
it's a very much it's this is comfort food for me.
I feel like you could cut off like 10 minutes and then I'd be like a little more.
Yeah, and I feel like you could easily cut out 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, dude, there's a bunch of deleted scenes. Like this movie could have been another, like 7 minutes longer.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, like I would just give it like a Mogwai. It's a fun watch if you haven't seen it. Give it a shot. Like, yeah. But like, I just thought it was funny that we were starting off with like this football thing, and then it ended up not being really a football thing.
I mean, it's gonna end up being a little bit like that through my knowledge of these movies, like Varsity Blues. I mean, it's very much teenage drama, but based around like football is like a really big part of it, and then The Replacements. There's still like a rom-com story in it with Keanu Reeves, but like there is a little bit more football being played.
Well, then Longest Yard I think is really funny is going to be ending the block because of how this movie ended. Do you remember how Longest Yard ended?
No.
Okay. We'll wait for that because I just want you to go like, oh, yeah, okay. It's a good start and a good end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Leatherheads.
That's Leatherheads. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Tell your friends. Let us know if we got anything wrong, as per usual.
Yep.
We look forward to hearing from you.
Next week is Varsity Blues, which it's not recommended for children.
Really?
It's got some nudity and stuff in it. But
ooh,
yeah,
exciting.
No, it's definitely. I think you're gonna enjoy it in a. I don't want to say immature kind of way. It's got some depth to it for the style of movie it is.
Okay.
It's a very good like drama for like dramedy for teens because it's produced by MTV.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Or from especially like MTV from the 90s.
All right. Well, then you heard it here. Join us next week for Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, this is Tommy.
And this is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's Mixtape.